Welcome, everyone, to the first deep dive here on the Health Crave Podcast. I'm Heather Cross.
And I'm Mike Henry.
And we are so excited to have you join us.
Yeah, thanks for being here.
Today, we're going to tackle something that I think a lot of you are interested in, and that is weight loss. You've been sharing a ton of great information with us, stuff you've seen from Health Crave, and also insights from the experts over at Henry Ford Health.
Right.
And what we really want to do in this deep dive is kind of cut through all that noise and really help you identify what are the real evidence-based strategies when it comes to weight loss, but also, just bust some of those myths that seem to be everywhere. I mean, it's so easy to feel overwhelmed by all this weight loss advice out there, You've got fad diets popping up every other week, endless product endorsements.
Oh, yeah, it's a lot.
It's a lot. And, I think we've all probably encountered at least some of these ideas ourselves. So we're going to really dive into 10 key weight loss myths that were identified by both of those sources, Health Crave and Henry Ford Health, and help you understand why these ideas are so sticky, why do they persist, and what does the science actually say? Because we want to equip you to make informed decisions about your own health journey.
For sure. And to avoid those pitfalls.
Absolutely, those pitfalls of misinformation. So let's jump right into our first myth.
All right, let's do it.
This is the idea of spot reduction.
Okay.
Have you heard about this? This is, like that thought that you can target fat loss in specific areas, like, doing endless crunches to get rid of belly fat or,
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I've wondered about that myself, like if you're just targeting one area.
Yeah, it's super common. And actually, Health Crave, they address this right off the bat. And what they say is basically your body decides where fat is stored and where it's released from. It's not about doing a million crunches to suddenly make your belly fat disappear. Those targeted exercises are good for building muscle in that area. So like crunches will strengthen your abs.
Right.
But they don't directly burn the fat that's covering those muscles. It's kind of like those exercises are working those local muscles. But the fat loss itself is actually a systemic process. Your hormones are signaling fat cells throughout your body to release energy.
Okay, that makes sense.
So it's not about just that one spot.
Yeah. So it's not about just working one specific area. And Health Crave gives this really clear example. They say, doing 1,000 crunches won't eliminate belly fat if your overall calorie intake is high. So if spot reduction is a myth, what's the real strategy then for losing fat? Like, what should we be focusing on?
Well, if we connect this to the big picture, what really works is a comprehensive approach. So that includes cardio, to burn calories, strength training, to build muscle mass, and that helps boost your metabolism overall. And then, of course, a healthy, balanced diet to create that calorie deficit that you need for fat loss. So it's an all-around effort.
It's not just a one thing.
Not a localized one, yeah.
Okay, all right. Myth number 2. This one takes on a whole food group. We're talking about carbohydrates.
Carbs.
For a long time, it felt like carbs were like public enemy number 1 when it came to weight loss. Have you encountered that kind of thinking?
Oh, totally. I mean, low-carb diets have been super popular, and there's definitely this perception that all carbs are bad for you.
Right.
But what's interesting is that Health Crave kind of clarifies this. They say, actually, carbohydrates are essential for energy. Like, our bodies need them to function. The key, and both Health Crave and Henry Ford Health emphasize this, is choosing the right kind of carbs.
Right. So it's not about just cutting out all carbs. Health Crave specifically calls out like complex carbohydrates. So things like whole grains, fruits, vegetables, those are the ones that they're saying are really important because they give you sustained energy and they're packed with fiber.
Right. And we all know fiber is great for digestion, helps you feel full.
Yeah, exactly. And Henry Ford Health touches on this too. Like, they actually list as one of their myths to avoid low-carb diets long-term, partially because they can be so hard to stick with.
Yeah, and that's a good point. If something is not sustainable, it's probably not going to work for you.
Right. It's not going to be helpful in the long run.
Right. And they also say that, complex carbs are fuel for our bodies. And they suggest some really simple swaps, like instead of white bread, go for whole grain bread. And include other healthy carb sources like potatoes, peas, squash, fruit.
I love that. Like, just simple swaps. You don't have to completely overhaul your diet.
Exactly. Make small changes.
Yeah. So it's really about being smart about our carb choices and limiting those processed ones like white bread, sugary drinks that don't really offer a whole lot in terms of nutrients. Health Crave even says that, like, completely cutting out carbs can lead to nutrient deficiencies and it can negatively impact your metabolism in the long run. Which doesn't sound ideal at all.
No, not at all. A balanced approach that includes the right types of carbs is definitely the more sustainable and, beneficial path.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to myth number 3. This one, I know a lot of people might have been tempted by at some point. This is the idea of detox teas and cleanses, and they often promise, rapid weight loss. Have you ever considered trying any of these?
Oh, yeah, I've seen them all over the place.
Yeah, they're everywhere, and they have like these amazing before and after pictures.
Absolutely.
I have to admit, the idea of a quick fix, I mean, it's definitely crossed my mind, but what's the real story there? Like, what's actually going on?
Well, what's fascinating is that our bodies are already amazing at detoxing. Like, you're built for this.
Yeah.
As Health Crave points out, your liver and your kidneys, those are your natural detox organs. They're powerhouses.
Wow.
And so the weight loss that you might see with these teas and cleanses, it's often temporary. It's mostly because of fluid loss from diuretics and laxatives that they contain. So it's not actual fat reduction. Plus, Health Crave points out, you can have some not-so-great side effects, like electrolyte imbalances and digestive issues. So it's not exactly a healthy way to lose weight, right?
Right.
And their advice, which I think is great, is focus on healthy eating and exercise and drink plenty of water. Your body will naturally detox itself.
That makes a lot more sense. Okay, myth number 4. This is about skipping meals to supposedly boost your metabolism. This one always felt a little bit backwards to me.
Yeah, I get that.
What does the science say?
So you're right to be skeptical. And if we connect this to our body's natural rhythms, skipping meals can actually backfire. Health Crave explains that it often leads to overeating later in the day because, you're so hungry.
Right.
So it ends up hindering your weight loss goals. Plus, skipping meals could disrupt your metabolism, lead to fatigue, lower your energy levels.
Right.
Not good.
No, I can definitely relate to that. Like, if I skip a meal, I'm way more likely to just grab whatever is convenient later, which usually isn't the healthiest choice.
Right, exactly.
So, Health Crave, what they suggest is the best practice is to eat regular, balanced meals throughout the day. This keeps your blood sugar stable, optimizes your metabolism, prevents that urge to overeat. What do you think?
Yeah, and Henry Ford Health touches on a related idea, too. They have this myth about breakfast being the most important meal of the day.
Oh, yeah.
Which they clarify it's not totally a myth. But their key point aligns with what Health Crave is saying. It's important to avoid getting overly hungry because that can lead to making, not so great food choices. So establishing regular eating patterns, whether or not you include breakfast, seems to be more important than being rigid about, have to eat 3 meals a day.
So it sounds like really consistency is key rather than trying to skip meals in hopes of some metabolic magic.
Exactly. Consistency over, gimmicks for sure.
Okay, let's dive into myth number 5. This is the idea that all calories are created equal. A calorie is a calorie. Is that how it works?
Yeah, that's a common way to think about it, but it is definitely an oversimplification. So while it's true that weight loss ultimately comes down to burning more calories than you consume, the source of those calories, that makes a huge difference to your body.
Okay.
Health Crave points this out. They say 100 calories of broccoli is going to have a very different impact than 100 calories from, like, a candy bar.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the candy bar, you might get that quick burst of energy, but then you crash, and then you want more sugar.
Exactly. Right.
Whereas broccoli, you're getting the nutrients, you're getting the fiber, it's going to keep you feeling full and satisfied.
Totally. And Health Crave even talks about a case study that showed that people who ate more nutrient-dense foods, they felt more satisfied. And they lost more weight than those who ate the same number of calories, but from nutrient-poor options.
Interesting.
Right. And Henry Ford Health, their first myth actually echoes this too. They say food provides so much more than just calories. It's nutrition. It's fuel for your body. And they use this example of 200 calories from an avocado, all those healthy fats, the fiber, being way better for you than 200 calories from, like, a bag of chips.
That's a great point. I mean, that's a really good visual. It's not about just the numbers. It's about what you're actually getting for those calories.
Yeah, the quality matters, not just the quantity.
Okay, let's move on to myth number 6. This is one that, it really promises those effortless results. This is weight loss supplements being a magic bullet.
Ah, yes.
I think we've all seen those ads promising incredible transformations without any real effort. Like, is that actually a thing?
If only it were that easy, right?
Right.
So the reality, as Health Crave clearly states, is that the vast majority of weight loss supplements lack strong scientific evidence, to back up those claims. And what's more concerning is that many of these supplements contain questionable ingredients, and they can have potentially harmful side effects. So Health Crave's advice is pretty clear. A healthy diet and regular exercise, those are the safer and ultimately the more effective way to lose weight and keep it off. There's no magic pill that's going to replace those fundamentals.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like sticking to those tried and true methods is the best approach.
I think so.
Okay, now let's talk about myth number 7, which has gained a lot of attention lately, and that is the idea that fasting is always beneficial. Like, intermittent fasting seems to be everywhere these days.
Oh yeah, it's super trendy.
Yeah,
And Health Crave, they clarify this. They say, while it can be an effective strategy for some people, it's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach.
right.
And it's really important to talk to your doctor, before starting any kind of fasting regimen, especially if you have any underlying health conditions.
That's a really important point because what works for one person might not be suitable or even safe for another.
Absolutely. It's all about personalized advice.
Okay, myth number 8 brings us back to physical activity. This is the belief that exercise alone is enough to lead to significant weight loss. And I know a lot of people, they put a lot of focus on their workouts. So is that enough?
So exercise is crucial, absolutely, for overall health, for well-being, no question about that. But as Health Crave points out, it's just one part of the weight loss puzzle. For truly effective, sustainable weight loss, you need to combine regular exercise with a healthy, balanced diet. And there's that saying, and Health Crave repeats it, you can't out-exercise a bad diet.
That's so true. I mean, you can spend hours at the gym, but if you're not paying attention to what you're eating, you're not going to see the results that you're hoping for.
Totally. It's about that synergy between, what you're doing activity-wise and what you're putting into your body.
Okay, let's tackle myth number 9. This one often causes a lot of unnecessary worry, and that is the idea that muscle weighs more than fat.
Okay, yeah.
I remember when I first started working out more seriously and I saw the number on the scale go up, I was like, wait a minute, what is happening?
I think a lot of us have been there.
Yeah.
So what's interesting here is the concept of density. Muscle is denser than fat. So that means it takes up less space in your body, even if the weight is the same.
Okay.
So while that number on the scale, it might not change drastically, an increase in muscle mass is actually a good thing. It boosts your metabolism, it improves your overall health, it helps you have that leaner physique. So the focus should really be on body composition, the ratio of muscle to fat, rather than just the total weight.
That's a great point. I mean, that's a really good distinction because it helps to kind of shift the focus away from just that number on the scale.
Right, it's not the whole story.
Yeah, and towards those more meaningful measures of health and fitness. Okay, finally, we arrive at myth number 10. This one is so crucial for long-term success, and that's the idea that once you reach your goal weight, you can just stop dieting and exercising. Oh, how tempting does that sound?
Oh, it sounds amazing. You've put in all this work.
You've done it, you've reached the goal, you're good to go.
Right.
But is that how it works?
Well, it's tempting, but unfortunately for most people, it's not realistic. As Health Crave states, maintaining a healthy weight requires a lifelong commitment to healthy habits. So that means regular physical activity and paying attention to what you're eating. It's not about reaching a destination and then going back to old habits.
It's not about a quick fix, it's a journey, right?
Exactly. It's a journey. It's about incorporating these healthy habits into your daily life for the long haul.
Yeah, because if you go back to the habits that caused you to gain weight in the first place, it's pretty much inevitable that the weight is going to come back.
Absolutely. Makes perfect sense.
Okay, so we've tackled those 10 myths, but Henry Ford Health, they also shed some light on some additional nutrition myths that I think are worth discussing. One of them is this advice to drink 8 glasses of water daily.
Oh, yeah. I've heard that one a lot. 8 glasses a day.
8 glasses a day. But is that really like a hard and fast rule that applies to everybody?
So, according to Henry Ford Health, it's more of a guideline than an absolute rule because our hydration needs, they vary a lot depending on our age, our health, the environment, how active we are. They suggest paying attention to your body's thirst cues to stay adequately hydrated.
Okay.
And interestingly, they also point out that you can actually drink too much water. Like if your urine is consistently clear, that might be a sign that you're overdoing it.
Okay, good to know.
Yeah, and they recommend planning your water intake, especially if you're going to be out in the sun or doing physical activity.
That makes sense. I've definitely heard people say, just constantly be sipping on water throughout the day.
Right, all the time.
It sounds like it's really about listening to your body.
Yeah, tuning into those signals.
What's another nutrition myth that Henry Ford Health highlights?
Okay, so myth number 3 for them is eat low-fat foods.
Ah,
And this
yes.
is really interesting because it was, the dominant dietary advice for so long.
I remember that. Everything was low fat this and fat free that.
Right, exactly.
And I remember thinking that was the healthiest way to go.
Yeah, it seems so straightforward.
Yeah.
But Henry Ford Health explains that this approach can sometimes backfire because many low-fat products, they contain added sugar to make up for the flavor.
Hmm.
That's lost when they take the fat out. And so this can lead people to feel less satisfied, eat more, and potentially gain weight. So they emphasize that our bodies actually need healthy fats
Okay.
for things like hormone production, organ insulation, brain, and heart health. The key is to limit unhealthy saturated fats, like those found in fried foods, red meat, and instead, choose smaller portions of healthy fats like olive oil, avocado, nuts, seeds.
Yeah, so it's not about eliminating all fats, it's about choosing the right kind,
Exactly.
being mindful of portion size.
It's all about balance.
We've covered so much today, debunking all these common weight loss beliefs.
It's a lot of information.
It really is, and it really shows how much misinformation is out there. But hopefully this deep dive has helped clarify some of that for you. And, as we wrap up, I think it's important to remember that sustainable health is about making choices that are based on evidence, not just following the latest trends.
Couldn't agree more.
What stands out to you most from all of these debunked myths? Were there any that you've encountered or maybe even believed in the past?
Yeah, I'd love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah, we'd love to hear from you. And remember, this deep dive is really just the beginning of understanding how to navigate the world of health and wellness. So if you want to keep learning with us, be sure to follow healthcrave.site on Instagram. You can also subscribe to the Health Crave podcast on Apple Music and Spotify. That way you don't miss any of our future deep dives. And if you found this information helpful, we would so appreciate it if you could take a moment to rate us 5 stars. It really helps other people find credible information and join our community. So thanks so much for diving deep with us today.
Yeah, thanks for listening.